We really can't talk about the Overton window moves and creeping normality in 2019 without talking about how extreme right-wing ideology has become mainstreamed and is now part of what is considered legitimate political discourse in way too many circles. There's a really good piece in The Guardian about this by Mark Townsend and Nasheen Iqbal that spells this out. And it's something I've been telling you for some time now, and I encourage you to read the piece. The right in the United States has very successfully pulled the discussion around a ton of political issues to the right. And this is a huge structural advantage for them because there are too many issues, including abortion, immigration, and many others. They are winning merely by pulling the discussion to the extreme right. The left has some wins on this in the United States. So over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen the left insert more progressive ideas into the mainstream discussion about healthcare, for example. Everybody's talking now about Medicare for all and other single payer systems. Doesn't mean we're necessarily about to get them, but the debate has been pulled to the left on healthcare successfully by the progressive movement. Inequality, starting with Occupy Wall Street, and since then, with the likes of candidates like Bernie Sanders and others, inequality has become mainstreamed as an issue. Taxation, more progressive ideas on taxation, for example. But the radicalization that comes from the right is truly a danger. I'm going to give you a specific example. The idea of the Great Replacement, okay? The Great Replacement is a right-wing nationalist conspiracy theory that officially started in France in 2012 by that name, but there are many versions of it. And generally, it's the idea that white Christians are going to be replaced by non-European people, brown people in many cases, sometimes not Christians, and it's going to destroy everything and it's going to be terrible. And there are versions of this that date back decades, hundreds of years, even longer, maybe. I guess I'd have to think about it, without being called the Great Replacement. But the idea has been around for a long time. This fear of the other is going to come in and replace us and take our status in society and maybe take our riches or maybe take our women, right? I mean, there's the different versions of this Great Replacement idea. But it has been used to stoke nationalist extremist ideas. And it's been around for a long time. Here in the United States, white nationalists and other right-wingers have been pushing this for years in relation specifically to immigration policy, and usually it relates to Latin American immigrants. And it has unfortunately become mainstream. They've succeeded at this. It's on Fox News all the time. It's not fringe websites that are talking about this. It has infected what is considered mainstream right-wing political thinking. Fox News host Laura Ingraham did a segment in August, which we covered, basically a sanitized Great Replacement segment about legal and illegal immigrants forcing demographic change in the United States and destroying the country by doing it. Tucker Carlson on Fox News, very similar thing, numerous segments, one in which he said that brown people coming to the United States legally, becoming citizens, and voting in elections is a form of election hacking. This is fundamentally, it's a Great Replacement sort of conspiracy theory. Another segment in which Tucker Carlson ranted about immigrants making our country dirtier. This type of discussion at one point was not considered serious conversation on these issues. I still would have disagreed with what the right thought at the time, but they were not overtly radical in this particular way that I'm showing you. The Institute for Strategic Dialogue has been studying this, and they've found that these formerly sort of obscure ideas are now everywhere. Donald Trump references them in speeches on Twitter. It's happening in European countries among the nationalist parties. It's all over social media, particularly on Twitter, even outside of the president's own tweets. The right likes to say that there's left-wing bias just implicit in all of our discussions and on media. And they love the example of Twitter is left-wing because if you misgender people on purpose, you could get banned. This is a joke compared to the reality that's straight up xenophobic, almost phrenologist type trash. Look that up if you don't remember what that is now part of the discussion around many of these issues. They have slick branding. They come up with wording that makes it sound relatively innocuous if you're not paying close enough attention, but they are pushing extreme ideas into the gray area of valid political discussion, and it has the effect that is beneficial for them of pulling the Overton window seriously to the right. The right's slick branding has pushed extreme right-wing ideas into mainstream discourse. They've successfully integrated them into even corporate media discussions of many political issues, while at the same time continuing to shout that there's inherent left-wing bias in all media and social platforms. This is one of the most successful disinformation campaigns of the last 30 years. And what we all need to understand is that even if the craziest ideas that they espouse aren't made into reality, they're not made into policy, it makes the marginally less crazy ideas seem middle of the road in comparison. And that's the danger of the mainstreaming of extremist nationalist right-wing ideas, of the Overton window being pushed to the right, and of the creeping normalization that we've experienced over the last 15 years, but particularly over the last 2.5 under Donald Trump. I want to hear from you about this. Do you agree with my assessment, and how do you think we fight it? I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. Please follow me there, and follow the David Pakman Show on Twitter as well.